Greenwater Canyon Pictographs near Death Valley, California. Greenwater Valley is a highway of sorts connecting sort of the plains of Nevada to the Death Valley side of the mountain ranges. The plains over there, or mountains over there, anyway, territories. It's hard to cross these mountains because they're so craggy. But if you walk through Greenwater Canyon, you can quite easily get from one zone to another, and that's what I think was going on here in prehistoric times. It's basically a highway of, with a lot of good water in it. And these fine people lived here. They had the pleasure of living here right at the borderland, which is very cool. I can see the salt plains in the distance. It seems like a good place to get a lot of resources within a very short distance.
Our hike doesn't actually start in Greenwater Valley. It starts a little bit to the south in a different drainage that has a lot of petroglyphs at the mouth of the drainage. So stay tuned for part 2 in the next video, and I'll show you a slideshow of some of the images there. Also along our hike, not quite yet to Greenwater Valley, but there was a confluence of washes. And at that confluence of washes, there was some high ground where there was a really nice little village that had a few petroglyphs and some grinding stones. So we stopped and checked it out.
It's really fantastic. And the petroglyphs over here are really old, really old. The patina on them, they're almost invisible. So this site here at the mouth of Greenwater Canyon, not even in Greenwater Canyon yet, it's like half between the start of where a big petroglyph outcrop is, and then you got this prairie land sort of on the high ground, and we're not even to Greenwater Canyon yet. This is just, okay, so first of all, people don't make pictographs and petroglyphs in the water, right? They're around the water. They're above the water. They're in places where they're living or doing things that are out of the water. You don't find pictographs and petroglyphs in a riverbed. It just doesn't make sense. They'll be above the water line sometimes, but this would be where people are spending their time up here in the high ground, where near the water, right? You want to use the water for your life, but you don't want to why would you stand in a river? Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to be in the water. So all this up here, I think you understand what I'm saying. So this is like a camp or a village site or something up here where people are processing things. And then we're going to head down into the Greenwater Canyon proper and see what's down there. Normally I wouldn't stop and marvel at a grinding slick because, they're utilitarian, but this is so amazing. This whole rock, okay, I guess for context, you have to see what these rocks look like. See how this is very, it's popped. These are volcanic rocks, and it's smooth with time, but you see all the, I don't know what, air pockets, inclusions, whatever they are. But over here, the one next to it, has been rubbed absolutely smooth. Every single surface of this rock has been rubbed smooth. And then, of course, wind and rain and sun, it further erodes it, but in a smooth way. You see, not in a rough way. It just smooths it out more and more. But this, I don't know what could have been processed on this rock. I mean, I feel like it had to be something big, like skins or, something huge that would take a lot of surface area. Because it is, the whole thing is absolutely smooth, and it's the only one like this. Just look around. All these rocks don't have that surface. And I'm geeking out a little bit and spending extra time on this, but, maybe you're interested. I am. See? Nothing else. Nothing else is that smooth.
in Greenwater Valley, and you can start to see why it's called that. The landscape changes from black to green.
Look what I found by the beautiful waterhole. Perfect skull. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the teeth. Oh, it's treasure. What makes me really happy about the fact that I found this Timbisha Shoshone coyote here is that it prompts me to tell you the Timbisha Shoshone creation story, which features coyote. I'm going to tell you the Angeline abridged version. It's a creation story that's shared by many of like clans, groups of Shoshone people, including the Timbisha Shoshone. But as the landscape is different, the story is told a little differently by different clans. But here's how it goes. So Coyote, he's in his homeland. He's roaming the land. Remember, this is a creation story, so this is before people. This is how people are made. He's roaming the land, and he sees a mother and daughter walking along, and he decides that he wants to mate with these beautiful women. He's unsuccessful, so he follows them, and he follows them, in this version I'm telling, he follows them to the west, and he follows them all the way to their hut, where they go inside and they start making a grass water basket. And the making of this basket is going rather quickly, and there are animal bones all over their camp from hunters that, animals that had been eaten. And all of these hunters had also tried to mate with these women, but were unsuccessful. So Coyote, he keeps trying to mate with these women, and he's unsuccessful. So he decides to pick amongst the bones that are outside the hut and pick up the neck of a goat, and it would be a round bone like this. And with this goat neck, he was able to be successful at mating with these women. Now, side note, this is something of a vagina dentata story that are told worldwide. Other people in the story other animals were unable to mate with the women because they were. So this neck, right, this bone, was enabled Coyote to mate with the women without the vagina dentata happening. Okay, that's a little bit nerding out on myth history, but anyway, so as the story goes, so he was successful and impregnated both these ladies, who were instantly full-bellied with babies, and they gave birth to the babies. The babies the women placed the babies into the grass water basket that they were working on, gave the water basket to Coyote, and said, "Take the babies back to your home. These will be your people." And so Coyote carried the water basket back across the land, back to the east where he was, and along the way, the basket opened. He opened the basket to peek inside, and some of the babies crawled out, and they were beautiful, strong Indians that crawled out, and they stayed on that land. And in some version of the story, that you might say, these are the people of such and such canyon. Take, for example, Saline Valley. And then he continued along the land a little further, and he opened the little crack in the basket again. He peeked in, and a few more Indians came out. A few more babies came out, and they were beautiful people. And those became the people of Panamint Valley. Again, remember, different versions of the story. This is the one I'm telling. Okay, and then finally he arrives at Death Valley, and he opens the basket, and all the rest of the people come out of the basket. And they became the people of Death Valley, who we know today as the Timbisha Shoshone. You can still see Coyote's Basket. It lives on the land right there. It is what some people call Ubehebe Crater, but not the locals, not the people. The people would call that Coyote's Basket in the rock. That's the water basket that the people of the land came from. They've been here since the beginning of time, and they came out of what outsiders call the Ubehebe Crater, but insiders call Coyote's water basket in the rocks. So over here behind me is a whole village. There are some cleared circles where I imagine there were brush huts. This is the first one I noticed because it has a wall. It has like a windbreak right at the back of it here. And then, you see in there? Oh, the sun's right in my eyes. You see in there? And right over there is a grinding rock. Just to the side of the, where the shelter is, the shelter area is. And then there's a cleared circle there. I'm standing in one. What else? You see that one behind me? The grinding slick is right there. So behind me is the canyon. It has that beautiful waterfall and perfect, wonderful little water pocket. It's too windy. I'll talk to you in a second. Look here, petroglyphs. Right in the village. The village is right over there, and it stands over this little canyons, and there's a series of waterfalls that come down through here, and right down there where you see the drop off in the shadow, that's where that perfect, beautiful little water pocket is, just next to where that stone is that has the petroglyph. I'm seeing a cave over there. I'll be in there in a few minutes, faux show. But then there's this whole plateau area, really nice place to live. It's above lots and lots of water. Looks like there's plants up here. I mean, clearly animals come up here into this little canyon to drink. We saw bighorn sheep tracks. Obviously I found a coyote skull. So we've got animals coming up here. Everybody wants the water that's here. It's got water still too. I mean, it's obviously active. There's lots of greenery in there, little pools of water, some even grass and marshy areas in the pools. That Tinaha, we saw that water pocket. It's got a lot of water in it. I mean, it's been still for a while, but it can't have been too long since it rained. And in a rainier climate, a rainier epoch, this would probably constantly flow with water. Here's a little rock shelter with definitely some paint in it. Just a few little places. Some over there. Smoke stains. And oh yeah, okay. There's some red and some black over there, some black images. Let's de-stretch. Little fireplace right there. The rock shelter has a nice little windbreak in front of it. And also, there's quite a number of grinding slicks out in front here. In parts, like this is really smooth. This one's on its side. Really, really smooth. And then this one's like in pieces. Looks like maybe this one belongs over here with this one, possibly. I thought I saw some more. Yeah, one down here. More. Maybe that. Maybe not. Over there, that's where the shelters would be. There's all these stone flakes all over the ground, but look at this one. Beautiful. Oh, can you imagine the tool that made? Amazing. That must have been an absolute work of genius art. Oh, I'd love to see that tool. It looks like for sure some pigment was ground on this rock. It's a lot of little cupules, and you know, obviously the big one, but there's also a lot of red pigment stain all over this rock. And look at how this was like pounded into. Goom, goom, goom. Look at all that. You know, the where it's smooth, but it's not smooth like you were grinding corn or something. It's got a lot of impact craters on it. Over here too, some more little ones. Oh, and a bunch back here. All over the place back here. Different colors. This has a lot of black stain. Grinding slick. Ooh, this is part of one too. Really smooth. More flint napping. This is the word for it. See, what's interesting about this is these halls clearly had to be ceremonial, because this is an extremely inconvenient place to try to work on something like food, you know what I mean? Like, where are you gonna sit? There's nowhere to sit. It's like these cupules are obviously put here in some way related to this panel, because they don't seem very utilitarian, not ergonomic in any way. See that? Like, you can almost not get enough height to pound into that rock.
So let's talk for a second about the color red, because the newest images on this panel are red, and red is smeared all over the cupules on the rocks just under this panel in two side-by-side shelters. So since the newest images on this panel are red, and the newest people on this land are the Timbisha Shoshone, I'll read to you something that I just learned about the Timbisha Shoshone and the color red. The color red represents the way forward. The red ochre, called Timbisha, was used in spiritual ceremonies. A red flicker feather left along the path, and the red color in the sunrise points the way to the future. Tribal elder Pauline Estevez says, "To see the flicker feather reminds you, who are you anyway? Where are you going? What kind of life are you leading? It makes you reflect back."
There's all this old black pigment underneath the red pigment. I can't even de-stretch out what I'm seeing in the black pigment. It's just so worn away. It's fragmentary. Fragmented? Yeah. I studied English literature. Here's one that you can see really well. And check out all of these other really great shelters. I mean, what a good place to hang out. Will somebody please let me know if there is such thing amongst the Timbisha Shoshone, or amongst the Shoshone in general, if there's a women's camp and men's camp. Because I'm kind of wondering if over there is women's camp. That's where the brush huts would be. Maybe, you know, children and women doing stuff over there in the flat area. And then there's lots of flakes here. And I'm wondering, you know, the flint napping was going on here, clearly, and the pictographs, so a lot of ceremonial stuff. I'm wondering if this would be the men's camp, the men being, you know, sheltering in these caves. There's some grinders over here, too. A lot of them. So, I mean, something was being processed up here. But it's very interesting because there's a difference in the kind of artifacts in the two different kinds of habitation sites, you know. And the question I want to know is, you know, did the women and children and then the men kind of live separately? I'm so happy I'm using my D-stretch on this because I was blind to something. I had my eyes trained looking for pictographs and totally missed the fact that I'm also looking at petroglyphs. It showed up in the D-stretch because the pigment was missing in a certain area. You see this? Like a lizard form. And there's one underneath this guy. The paint is over a petroglyph. I can't tell exactly what the petroglyph is. Clearly it's older though. And this. I really can't tell what I'm looking at. Some kind of like one of those yoni kind of images looks like maybe. I can't tell if this is all one continuous line. There's something here. Huh. There's so much lichen growing over it. It's really hard to see, and plus it looks really old. So there's quite a lot of erosion. You know, I was asking about Timbisha Shoshone, but also Southern Paiute. Does anybody know if that men-women's camp thing applies to Southern Paiute or Paiute in general? Because this is sort of culturally part of that that people as well. This looks like, I don't know, like a hook. Oh, like a hook that comes down and then a circle. Yeah, that's what people refer to as they call that image atlatl. Which, by the way, someone just told me something great. In Nahuatl language, which is the Uto-Aztecan language that the original North American Southwesterners speak, the originals speak some branch of Uto-Aztecan, and atl in Nahuatl means water. Atlatl means water. So there you have it for when we see these pictographs, petroglyphs that people call atlatl, if in fact that's what they are. How interesting that hunting tool is called water in Nahuatl. Just food for thought. You know what we're looking at here? We're looking at a horse and rider. That is super interesting because, let's see, the black is under the red. So the horse and rider, the oldest it can be is like the 1500s. I mean, that's still a long time ago, right? And then the red is from more recently than that. Ugh, sorry, down on my belly. So the black images are older. than the red images, at least on this panel. This is a pretty dark pigment. Look at all these cupules stained red too. And then over there, dark. It's a little bit different color pigment, but I'm thinking, see, there's some of that old dark pigment up here. So the petroglyph, this petroglyph is under the black paint, over the red paint. No, the red paint's over the, everything's over the petroglyph. The petroglyph is there first. Then, oh, I can't tell. Yeah, I can't tell if which is there first, the black or the red. Here, petroglyph is there first. Definitely the red paint is over the petroglyph. There's black paint also over the petroglyph, so we know the petroglyph's the oldest. What else we got as far as dating things? Ooh, here we got black, worn black paint, red paint over it, and that's that same dark paint. This is a lighter color paint. They're in better condition, totally different color of pigment, so those are probably newer. And the imagery is different too. You see, those are all the kind of related. The other images have different symbols. So these would have been, based on the time frame, these probably were made by the Timbisha Shoshone, not people of the Paiute variety, although, you know, lots of customs are shared when you live so close to people. Oh, I forgot to photograph this one. I like this one. That's interesting. All right, well, you know me, I could stay here all day. I would stay here all day. If you see my videos, I get caught out places like this in the dark all the time. Because there's so many shelters I want to go in that are probably stretching for a mile down the canyon, but I have a hiking partner who I'm giving a hissy fit right now. He's about ready to have a myocardial infarction because of how much time it's going to take us to hike out of here. Personally, I would hike even in the dark, but I don't want to give him, you know, undue stress, so I gotta go. But thank you for joining me on this adventure. I love it. This is really, really interesting, and I hope to come back out here later and explore some more. It's just this really remote place. It's so beautiful. All right, have a great day, and thanks for watching. Mwah.